All right. Hey. How we doing on this beautiful Tuesday? Drop your college recruiting questions down below. Mara, hey, hi. How's it going? Jameer, good to see you, brother. Drop your college recruiting questions down below. I'm going to get to as many of them as I possibly can. It's wonderful to see you all on this Tuesday. What a beautiful day today. That goal, Sammy. How you doing, Sammy? It's great to see you. Bodeg, hello. Great to see you. Good. I'm glad. Drop your college recruiting questions down below. I'm going to get to as many of them as we possibly can on this awesome live stream. It's going to be great. Hope you guys are having a wonderful week so far. Good afternoon. It's good to see you. Hey, can you YouTube comment? Can you put your first name? Because I see you here all the time, and I'd love to be able to call you by your first name. Because by your handle, I'm not sure what it is. Drop your college recruiting questions down below, guys. I'm going to get to as many of those as I possibly can on this beautiful day. All righty, let's dive in. What do we got here? How do I go D1 from a bad school? You don't need to go to a great school in order to go D1. Does it help? Yeah, it absolutely helps. It also depends on your sport, right? For something like football, going to a big high school is going to be a bigger deal than something like soccer, right? Like in soccer, it literally doesn't matter because everything happens in club. It happens at ECNL, MLS Next, GA, right? For football, your high school matters more, but keep in mind, there are still players who go D1 even though they go to a smaller school, okay? So for sure, you don't have to go to an incredible high school in order to go D1. Now, it means that college coaches aren't going to be just strolling through your halls all the time. You're going to need other ways to get on their radars, but you don't have to go to a big school in order to make that happen. Rob, awesome. I'm going to try to remember that, Rob. Okay. I've emailed every week since June and still haven't gotten any interest. All right, Alyssa, let's talk about this. Because if you've emailed every week since June and you still haven't gotten any interest, something's wrong, okay? Something's wrong. Now, there's a couple things that it could be, all right? The first thing is you say you've emailed every week since June. How many schools are we talking about? Is it like 10 schools and you've emailed the same 10 schools over and over and over again? Because then, not surprising, right? Not surprising. So the first thing is we got to make sure that the net is wide enough. And so I would say, have you contacted at least 100 schools? If it hasn't been 100 schools, then that's the first place that I would start is you need to go wider, okay? If you've been contacting schools since June and you haven't heard anything, then the first place that you need to go is cast a wider net. The second thing I would say is what divisions are you contacting? Because if you're only contacting Division I and you're not getting any feedback from them, you are getting feedback from them. And they're just saying, maybe you're not a D1 player. And so I would say contact schools at every single division level. So go wide and then also go deep, meaning you're also contacting multiple schools at each division level. All right. Now, let's say that every week since June, you've done 100+ schools across 5 different divisions. Then what do you do? Right? Then what do you do? So first of all, I'll say that at the email workshop that we did last month, there were 16 things that I gave people that were there of what they should go through. Okay, so we're not going to go through all 16 now, but it could be something in your script, like you're including disqualifying information. Like if you're including stats in your message, it could be that your stats are just not quite as good as you think they are. And so they're just seeing the stats and then clicking right off, right? The second thing is it could be your video, right? It might be that you're using the wrong type of video or the video doesn't highlight your specific skill sets. It could be that if you're sending that video in like a file or an attachment instead of a link, it could be that all your emails are going to spam and nobody's even reading them. That would be another thing is you've been emailing every week since June and you don't have any interest. Do you know that they're even opening them? Like, do you have a tracking set up on that to know if they're opening and clicking on your stuff? Because then if not, we don't really know what's going on, right? So there's a lot of different things that it could be, but I would start with the first two, which is like, are you contacting at least 100 schools? And are you doing all 5 divisions? Okay. Then after that is when you can start going through every single piece after that, because there's a lot of things that it could be, right? What's up? What's up? Yeah, good to see you. Hey, thanks for being here. It's great to see you. Are recruiting services as useful as they make them seem? Depends on the recruiting service, right? Some of them, not useful. Some of them, literally transformational and game-changing, right? So some of them are really good, some of them not so good, a lot of them somewhere in between. But the biggest thing that I would say there is if you haven't gotten value from someone's free content, you're probably not going to get value from their paid content. And then the second thing I'd say is look at their testimonials. Do they have a ridiculous amount? And are they like direct screenshots, video testimonials, like verifiable stuff, not just like I typed out what somebody told me, because you can write anything there. So those are the two things that I would really look for. I mean, there's a lot that I would look for in recruiting services, but those are the first two that I would really start with. Good. How's it going? I'm doing great. I'm excited you guys are here. How do I find official emails for coaches? There's a couple ways you can do this. One is that you could just go to the athletic website, go to roster, go to coaches, probably right there. The second thing that you can do is if you can't find it there, you can go to the staff directory for the whole school, not just the athletics, the whole school. And sometimes you can find coach info there, which is pretty cool. Not a lot of people know that or do that. And then the last thing is you can use software. There's lots of software out there that will tell you exactly what, the email addresses and Twitter accounts are. You can use software like that. Is going private better for recruitment for football? Not necessarily. No, it depends on the school, right? If you're at like a big public high school for football and they're historically really good, that's awesome. In fact, like private might actually hurt your case. But honestly, again, this kind of goes back to the first question, which is like, you don't need to go to a big school or play for a big travel program or a club program or something like that in order to get recruited or get scholarships or play Division I. When should I start recruiting? We typically say freshman year, you should start flexing the muscles. So you're not doing 100 plus schools freshman year. You are flexing the muscles. You're sending a couple emails, posting a little bit on social media, making a couple highlight videos, but nothing crazy. Sophomore year, you're building the foundation. You're starting to expand your list. You're really putting together scripts and better video, more video. And then by the end of sophomore year, heading into junior year, you're ramping. And that's when you're really taking off and doing a lot of marketing for yourself. So I'm going to piggyback on this because Lisa is also asking when and how do we start the recruitment process? So I just said freshman year is for flexing the muscle. Sophomore year, build the foundation. By the time you're a junior and senior year, you're full ramp. Okay. What does this actually mean though? Let's say that you're end of sophomore year. So 2028 right now, you're getting close to this point, right? Like right now you should be feeling the itch of like starting to really build the foundation. What does that actually mean? The first thing I would do is get a list of 100 schools to contact. And if you're like 100 schools, let me explain. First of all, I'm not naive. I know that your kid is not interested in 100 schools. I also know that you as the parent are probably not interested in 100 schools. Trust me when I say this with love, I don't care. We've done this with enough families that there's 75 reasons, and I've made YouTube videos and stuff like on this. So if you're interested, like go to the YouTube videos, they'll walk through that. But like super important that you contact a lot of schools. If you're like, I don't know how to get to 100, I can't even name 100. How do I do that? Easy way to break that down is choose 20 schools from each of the 5 divisions, D1, D2, D3, NAIA, JUCO, and then start in your state and in bordering states. So if you go your state, bordering states, if you're on the coast, then like your region, and you do 20 schools at each of the 5 division levels, you'll pretty much hit 100 right there. No problem. And I highly recommend doing that. So that's the first thing that I would do. Get all the coach contact info for them as well. Multiple coaches at each school. The second thing I would do is you got to get a lot of evidence. Video, if your kid plays a skill-based sport. So you have time-based and skill-based. Time-based sports would be swimming or track, right? It's all based on the stopwatch. Skill-based sports, baseball, basketball, football, soccer, lacrosse, volleyball, softball, are skill-based sports where video is more important than stats. So whichever one you're in, take that and run with it and get as much video evidence or stat evidence, depending on your sport, as you can. Okay. Take all that evidence, throw it on a YouTube channel. If you're not sure what to do with it, just throw it on a YouTube channel. Okay. Then you got to start putting together your scripts and saying, what am I going to write to these coaches? Those are like the first 3 basic steps of like, how do I start my recruiting process? That's how you start your recruiting process. I think a lot of people will start the recruiting process by doing this, which is they'll say, what does my kid really want out of their college experience? And I'm going to start researching schools to see which ones would fit, what my kid is looking for. I've been to the other side. I've been to Oz. Let me just share what's going to happen here. First of all, if you're just starting the recruiting process, there's a good chance that your kid is 15 years old, 16 years old. Your kid probably doesn't really know what they want in a college experience. They know the hoodie that they want to wear to school, and they know the schools that are their dream schools that they love to play at. But when it actually comes down to a well-rounded college experience, they're 15 years old. They probably don't quite know. And that's also likely to change. So if you go spend a whole bunch of time figuring out what your kid wants, and then it changes, then you wasted a whole bunch of time. The other thing is you can put together a list of 20 schools that would be a great fit for your kid, that your kid's like, yeah, that's exactly what I want. If none of those 20 schools express interest in you, though, then it doesn't matter, right? So what I would say is actually the narrowing down comes later in the process. Start by building your target list, putting together evidence, and starting to contact college coaches. Then get interest. And when 6 schools express interest, now you can research those 6 schools to see which ones are the best fit for your kid. And guess what? It's worth your time. Why? They already expressed interest. You're not wasting your time on somebody who's never going to give you the time of day. So if you actually just reverse the order in which you do those things, you're going to save yourself a lot of headache and a lot of wasted time. And so that's really how I would start the recruiting process. What's the most important thing for me to focus on as a freshman? So there's a couple things that I would say, okay? The first thing is development is most important for you. Getting bigger, faster, stronger, more technical, more skilled. That is the number one place that you should focus on. If you're a parent, that's where you should be spending your money as on your freshman, not on showcases and camps. As a freshman, spend the money on making your kid a better player, okay? The other thing that I would do as a freshman is, again, flexing the muscles. Send a couple emails, post a couple times on social media, make a couple highlight videos, just so you know what that feels like. So when you have to go do an incredible amount of that stuff, it's not the first time that you've done that. If you do those 2 things as a freshman, you're in great shape. Should the letters to coaches be relatively simple the first time through? Not relatively simple, Rob. I'm so sorry. Not relatively simple, Rob. Very simple. I think that when people look at, we hosted that email workshop, last month. And in fact, a week from today, we're hosting a social media workshop, d1scholarship.com/social media workshop if you're interested. But I think people are pretty surprised when they see the scripts that we send to coaches. People are like, that's it? Yeah, that's the point. I think a lot of people in their scripts to coaches try to add as much as they possibly can. It's not the way to go about it. Do the opposite. Try to strip down as much as you can. The whole point is, how short can I make the message and yet still give the coach the necessary information that they're looking for? That's ultimately what you're trying to do. So if your message is super long, we would say pull out a timer, read it out loud. If it takes you longer than 30 seconds, then it's too long. But really what you're trying to do in that message is what's the bare minimum amount of information that I can give a coach and still give them what they're looking for? And the thing is, I think a lot of parents think, okay, this coach doesn't know anything about my kid. There are hundreds of other players or thousands emailing them. I need to make my kid stand out. So I'm going to jam that email with every good thing that my kid has ever done. And what ends up happening is you commit information overload, which is where you share too much information with the coach and then they don't even know what to do with it. And they get paralyzed and then they just click off. Where recruiting is actually very similar to dating, which is you have your first date and you're not even necessarily trying to figure out if you're going to marry them. You're just should there be a second date? Is the vibe check good? And so you're not sharing all your vulnerabilities and insecurities on the first date, right? That stuff comes out over months of dating, years of dating, right? Very similar in recruiting, right? You're going to have a chance to share all of the incredible good things about your kid over a long period of time. But they shouldn't all happen in the first message to a college coach. And so I think that's one of the cardinal sins that parents make, because they want people to understand how good their kid is and all the values and traits that they can bring to the table. So they end up loading that first message, and then it gets too long, it's overwhelming, and it doesn't actually accomplish anything. So it shouldn't be relatively simple, Rob. It should be very simple. By the way, that social media workshop, February 10th, tomorrow, The early bird discount ends tomorrow morning. So last chance to get an early bird discount. It's like $99 for a ticket right now. It's a steal. D1scholarship.com/social media workshop. I'm going to share everything that we do on social media that's working right now. So all the stuff that you can't find on social media, ironically, like literally the nuggets that are working super well for our families. And tickets are $100 right now. So, and the price goes up tomorrow. So last chance to get in on that. Better to email a D3 school before I try to email a D1 school. No, I don't think so. I think what I would do is I would email both at the same time. Like you should email both. Because the thing is, like, sometimes we'll talk to parents who will say, oh, I know my kid is not D1, or I know my kid is not X level, right? And the funny thing, though, is we will often encourage them to contact those schools anyway. They won't be the only schools that we contact, but we encourage them alongside lower level schools to contact higher level schools. And parents are often, surprised by the interest that they get from some of the schools. They're like, oh, I never would have thought we would have heard from this school, but they did, right? So don't assume what you're capable of or not capable of. I would contact D1 schools, contact D2, D3 schools, contact NAIAs, right? Contact junior colleges, contact them all, see who responds, and then double down on the divisions that you're getting interest from. I heard students need certain core courses completed before the start of grade 12. If so, what are they? A quick Google search will give you like every single one of them. You're talking about the 7-10 rule. Like it's maths, sciences. Like there's a list. If you just type in on Google, it'll tell you exactly what you need before that. Most athletes and families naturally hit these. At least most of them do in my experience. How do you have a chance to get recruited with all the players transferring in via the portal? Also, if you're only interested in one school only. If you're only interested in one school, I mean this with all the love in the world. I wish you a ton of luck because you're going to need it. I highly recommend you go way wider than that one school, because here's the reality. You could be really good and totally good enough for that school. If that school is not recruiting for your position in grad class because they just don't need you right now, doesn't matter how good you are, they're not recruiting you. That's all it takes for the whole house of cards to fall down. So I would say, hey, we got to expand past one school. For instance, if someone came to me and they're like, hey, Jack, we'd love to sign on with you. We'd love to use your services. But, we're only interested in one school. Do you know what we would tell them? We're not a good fit to work together. We won't do it. The odds that we can help you are so low because your window is so small, right? So I would recommend you do more than one school or be interested in more than one school, because I guarantee you there's other great schools out there that would be an awesome fit for you. I guarantee it. Like I haven't met a single family ever where there's only been one school that's been a great fit for them. It's never happened. How do you have a chance to get recruited with all the players transferring in the portal? So the portal has definitely made it harder for high school athletes to get recruited. That said, high school athletes are still getting recruited. We have high school athletes getting Division I scholarships, 100 grand, 150 grand, 200 grand plus. That's happening. Okay. So the portal has not made it impossible, but it has made it impossible for families that don't have a game plan and are not serious about recruiting. It's basically eliminated the casual family. Like, you're not going to be casual about recruiting and go D1. You're not going to be casual about recruiting and get recruited at all, unless your kid is insanely talented. So with the portal, you just have to take an appropriate strategy and you have to get enough exposure. It just requires a lot more. So it's not that high school kids can't get recruited. They are all the time. Can guarantee it because we see it all the time. But that said, it's going to require a lot more work, a lot more strategy. You're probably not going to be able to just wing it and get the offers that you want. You're going to need some real strategy here because the portal has made it significantly harder for high school athletes, for sure. Also, I'll mention that the portal is much more competitive than it's ever been. So even if you're going to transfer and enter the portal, you're still, there's still significant competition there because the portal has more players than ever before. The portal is not a magic genie. You don't just enter the portal and things automatically get better, right? So highly recommend, even if you're going to go in the portal, you got to have a strategy about that. Too early to start looking at colleges in 8th grade. I'm already on varsity. Yeah, it's probably still too early just because in 8th grade, they're not looking at you yet. They're not. We still have 2026s, second semester seniors, not only getting offers, but D1 offers. Okay. So, yeah, you're still very, 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 very early. I would say enjoy the game, continue to get better, hone your craft. There will be plenty of time to get recruited later on. My son's only 13. What should I do so he can be noticed even more? Again, this kind of piggybacks on that, which is like he's so young. Like right now, he's not gonna get noticed. He's not going to. And so I would say like bigger, faster, stronger, improve his skill set, flex the muscles a little bit in terms of like sending some emails, posting a little bit of content, making some highlight videos. But you're still so early. When you contact schools, besides Reels, what should you send? So I'll just tell you, Lisa, we have contacted, we've sent over 1 million emails to college coaches. And that doesn't include thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of DMs as well. We've done this a lot. Okay. We get a lot of responses, tens of millions of dollars in scholarships. For skill-based sports, we only send video. We don't send stats. We don't send awards and accomplishments. We don't in the first email. Now, we typically send multiple emails and we'll send multiple stuff in each of those emails. So we'll do that. But I got to tell you, besides video, you really don't need to. You could just use video in a skill-based sport and be just fine. If your kid runs track or swims, you need stats. Okay. You need stats, you need times. For all these other sports, you will want multiple pieces of evidence, which would be video, stats, awards and accomplishments, coach recommendations, in-person evaluation. There's a lot of pieces of evidence there, but those can be shared over time. In the first conversation with the college coach, Lisa, I promise you, you just need video. Now, the video needs to be good and it needs to be intentional. You can't just throw your kid's best plays into a highlight video, send it to coaches, think it's going to be good enough, right? There needs to be some intentionality behind it. As long as you put real time and effort behind making a video strategy that is likely to work, you really don't need any other types of evidence in the first outreach. Keep in mind, over the recruiting process, you want to share lots of different types of evidence, not just video. In the first conversation, Lisa, you really only need video. I can tell you, we use video in the first email. That's all we use. We do all right. Is it hard to get into a D1 school for basketball if I don't play AAU, but I attend camps? Yes, it'll be difficult. The reason it'll be difficult is because they have to see you play somewhere. Now, you say camps, that's great, but you're still limiting the number of places that a coach can see you play live if you're not playing something like AAU. So I would say, is it hard? Yes. Is it possible? Totally possible. You don't have to play AAU, but going to be challenging if you don't play something like AAU. Second time hopping on. Love the content. Awesome, Bill. Good to see you. I remember you from the other one. That's great to see you. Keep coming back. Yeah, we love doing these. I'm not sure if we're going to keep doing them at 5 p.m. Eastern or not. We may go back to the 1 p.m. Eastern. I don't know. We'll see how the week finishes up. How much of an impact does really low levels affect getting recruited, specifically 8-man football? How much of an impact does really low levels affect getting recruited? What do you mean really low levels? You mean like if your team is, if you're only playing 8-man football because you don't have like a big high school where you're playing like normal football, like that will be a big deal, right? Is it possible? Yeah, you can still get recruited, but that's going to be much harder for sure. Too late for a senior in high school to be recruited for softball college? No. Now I would say, get on it. Like this is the time. But no, you can still get recruited to play softball. And I would say you're probably not going to a top 25 D1 school. You might not even be going to a D1 school, but you can still get recruited to go somewhere, especially if she's open to like JUCO or something like that. You can absolutely still get recruited. What about tennis? Yeah. If there's a specific tennis question, happy to answer it. 100 schools got us 19 follows on field level, 6 other colleges with visits set up for February and March. This has yielded us 2 offers for my daughter that plays volleyball. Magic. It's magical how that works. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you. It's almost like we've done this before. Is going to a private school better for football in an under-recruited area like Buffalo? Not necessarily, no. And I think I mentioned that before, like actually it might be in your benefit to go to a public high school that's bigger. Is having a social media account good for being seen? It's incredibly good for being seen. Okay. So at the end of 2025, we did a study where we studied over 8,000 athletes to figure out how they're getting recruited. I don't want this to just be my opinion or Connor's opinion or Cade's opinion, anybody at D1 Scholarship's opinion. We want to actually use data that proves what works, right? So we studied over 8,000 athletes. Guess what we found? Athletes who get exposure on multiple platforms get 59% more interest just by being on multiple platforms, meaning you're sending emails, you're also on Twitter, you're also on Instagram, you're also going to events, you also have a coach that's maybe has connections. Like you don't need necessarily all of those, but like doing multiple of them, you're significantly more likely to get exposure and interest and offers. Okay. Social media is a huge deal, and more kids are getting recruited off of social media than ever before. The real problem is that a lot of people just don't know how to use social media. It's a black box. They're like, yeah, it's fun to see my neighbor's dog and my grandma, but like, how do I actually use it to get recruited? That's why we're hosting the social media workshop on February 10th. So a week from today, Social Media 101, we're going to share everything that works for us on social media: follows, DMs, content, profile optimization, like literally everything. You'll know exactly what to do on social media. So if Twitter and Instagram feel like a foreign language to you and you're like, I don't even know where to begin, then you will really enjoy the workshop. Tickets are available right now. It starts a week from today. Early bird discount is live. Price goes up tomorrow. So d1scholarship.com/social media workshop, and you will be able to grab tickets for that and get the early bird discount, which is awesome. But social media is super important. Highly, highly, highly recommend, no matter what sport you play, that you are utilizing social media. Some sports historically have been more important on social media: football, basketball. But there are other sports that have historically not been as active on social media where our kids are getting major traction there. You just have to know how to use them. So highly recommend that you're using social media to get recruited. How hard is it to get an offer from Power 5 if you're a female soccer player from Canada? You being a female soccer player and you being in Canada has nothing to do with it being hard to get recruited to a Power 5. It's just hard to get recruited to a Power 5 because you have to be really good and you have to have a marketing plan that's dialed in, right? You got to get enough exposure. So the fact that you're a female soccer player and that you're in Canada, that won't affect it at all. Are you good enough to play there? Do you have evidence to prove it? Do you have enough exposure to those coaches? Do you have a strategy in recruiting? Like those are the types of things that are really going to matter. It doesn't matter that you're a female soccer player or from Canada. In fact, we have female soccer players from Canada talking to D1s in Power 5s. So like, yeah, you can definitely do it. That doesn't matter. It's what's the rest, everything else that you're doing. And not part of a national team setup. Yeah, you can still make it happen. But you're not going to be able to rely on a travel team or, a club team showcases. You're not going to be able to rely on that stuff. So you're going to need to really dial in outreach, content, like other ways of getting exposure. You're going to have to be super dialed in on that stuff. Otherwise, it's probably not going to happen. So you not being on a national team doesn't make it impossible. It just makes it harder. So people ask this all the time. They're like, how important is my club team? And typically what I say is being on a great club or travel team helps, but it's not mandatory. It makes it a little bit easier, but it's not an automatic shoe-in. What's the bar GPA wise to go to D1 in football? There's a wide range of D1 schools in football, right? Some of them are going to want 4.0s and some of them don't really care. They just want to know that you have a pulse. And so I would say, like, if you have a 3.5, you can go most places, like most places. Anything above a 3.0, between like 3.0, 3.5, like, yeah, you can go to a good amount of schools. Anything below a 3.0, you're playing with fire. Doesn't the process start in 8th grade? No, you're early. You're early. There will be recruiting services that tell you like, oh yeah, you should have started in 6th grade, but it's mostly just because they want you to pay them right away. So no, I would not start 8th grade. You're still very, 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 very early. To give you an idea, right? Just so you understand, there's sophomores who are 2028s right now. And we're like trying to push them back. We're like, no, and they're like, come on. They're hungry. They want to start. We're like, we'll get there. Come on. Like we're close. You need to start learning. You need to start building the foundation. Super important. Don't just sit around and do nothing right now as a 2028. But just so you get an idea, those players are like, what, 2 years older? And yet they're even still early. So like, now the process does not start in 8th grade. You spent 40 minutes with me one time and gave me a strategy on emails, and we received 7 offers. Thank you. Thank you. Very helpful. Amazing. That's so glad. I don't have a name or anything, so I'm not able to like recall the conversation. But yeah, amazing. Congratulations on the 7 offers. I'm glad the 40 minutes was helpful. If you want to spend more than 40 minutes with me, come to the social media workshop. For anybody that's there, February 10th, dish everything I know about social media. Video or stats with tennis? That's what the question was. Video will be important for tennis, but UTR is also important for tennis. So it's going to be a combination of video and stats. So there's some sports where both are important and some sports where one or the other. So skill-based sports, something like football, video is king. Okay. Football and basketball video is king. Then you have sports where times and stats are important, track and field, like track, swimming. And then you have sports that fall in the middle. And so fall in the middle would be tennis. Golf falls in the middle because you have handicap, but also they want to see the swings. You have baseball that falls in the middle. Like you have other ones that fall in the middle where it's both. Tennis is one of those. You're going to need video, but they also care a lot about UTR. Signed up. Can't wait for the workshop. Me too, Andrina. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. It's going to be awesome. Again, if you want to come to the workshop, February 10th, social media workshop, d1scholarship.com/social media workshop. Early bird discount ends tomorrow. You will still be able to buy tickets after tomorrow, but it'll be at a higher price. When contacted about camps, how do I respond to a college that is further from home that I am currently looking at as a class of 2028? Great question. So you say it's further from home. Are you not able to go, Abby? Or is it like, oh, I only want to go if I know that they're really interested? Those are two different things, right? The other thing is you're at 2028. You can only receive camp invites right now because of rules, right? And so it's too early to know whether a camp is going to be worth it for you or not, because typically those who have been here and been to the lives, which right now, this week, we're doing them every day, Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. So if you're like, hey, this is kind of cool, come back. Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. There's a chance that we go back to doing them at 1 p.m. Eastern, which is when we were hosting them previously. For this week, 5 p.m. Eastern. But for people who have been here before, you'll know the strategy for camps that we have been saying for years and years and years is start conversations with college coaches, attend camps for the schools that you're already in contact with. That's how you choose events. Not, oh, I've heard this camp is good. Oh, this is a big event, so there's a lot of schools there. Those are not good reasons to go to an event. They're not. You're going to waste a lot of money. You're going to light money on fire. Start conversations with college coaches. Go to the camps and showcases where those coaches are going to be there. Now, if you're like Jack, like Abby, hey, I'm a 2028. I can't receive personal interest yet. How do I know then that a camp is worth it? You don't. That's why you probably shouldn't go yet. People will be like, what? Yeah, there's other reasons to go to an event. Development, you think by going to the event you're going to get better. Experience, you know that your kid is going to have to play in a pressure-filled environment at some point, and you don't want that to be the first time they're in that environment. So you do a couple camps so they can kind of get their feet wet and get used to it. That's a great reason to go as an underclassman. But getting recruited, getting exposure, getting evaluated, it's not worth it as an underclassman. You're just going to end up lighting a bunch of money on fire. So I would say, Abby, you're early. Continue doing the things you're doing. It sounds like you're doing some great things, but wait until your recruiting date to go to camps for evaluation or exposure. And for now, I would only go for development or experiential purposes. Does playing lacrosse as a second sport help with football recruiting? Probably not. You know, it's cool in the fact that you're showing that you're super athletic, and that's great, but I wouldn't say that it's going to be a huge plus. I would say the opposite is probably true, though. Like if you're trying to get recruited for lacrosse, saying that you play football will probably help you, because football is more of a contact sport than lacrosse. Lacrosse is a contact sport, but not as much as football. So football, you have to be bigger and stronger, right? And so like that will probably help you in lacrosse recruiting, but probably not vice versa. Coaches have come to visit my son at his school. He's messaged and thanked them. They message him often saying, hello, how can we move the needle a little? How old is your son? That's what I would be saying. Like, how old is your son? The biggest thing is anytime, and this kind of goes for anybody that's of like a legal recruiting age, anytime you don't have an offer yet, it's because they're not sure that your kid is the one, right? It's kind of like when you're dating somebody and you don't have a ring yet, it's because they don't know that you're the one. When they do know that, they give you the ring. Same is true with a scholarship. So if you've been talking to a school, but you don't have an offer yet, it's because they're not completely convinced that your kid is the best possible option they can get. So what do you need to do? You need to share more evidence that that's the case. I can tell you what's not the move in this situation is just sort of waiting around for them and saying like, oh, they're going to say hello every once in a while. And then when they're ready, they'll give us an offer. You're probably going to miss out on a lot of scholarship money and offers if you do that. So I would actively continue to give them evidence showing that your kid is the best possible option they can get. And that will get you significantly more opportunities out of the schools that you're currently talking to. Ooh. Okay. Where are we at here? It's like school's 11 to 17 hours away from. Yeah. So like, I would just not go to those events yet. You're still at 2028, Abby. Like you got plenty of time. Don't go to those events. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. Continue engaging with those schools digitally. And then when you're of a legal recruiting age, then you can really figure out whether they're interested or not and whether it makes sense for you to spend the time and money to get out there. But I think it's probably too early for you to do that. And boom, reached the bottom. Okay, cool. That's the stream for today, guys. Great to see you all. We'll be back again tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. Same time. We're going to run that for this week, and then maybe we'll return to the 1 p.m. Eastern after that. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. We'll be back again tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. And then, of course, the social media workshop. Early bird discount ends tomorrow. So d1scholarship.com/social media workshop is going to be the best way for you to learn about social media. Emailing coaches significantly better than DMing them. Depends on your sport. And I would do both. Make sure you do both. Remember, 59% more interest if you're getting exposure in multiple places. Great to see you all. I'll see you again tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you at the social media workshop. Rock and roll. Have a wonderful day.